Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 68 of the Sports Blitz. Yes, that's right, episode 68. I said it. Happy to be with you. As always, I'm Robbie. Doug is here as well. Doug, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing well, Robbie. Thanks for asking. Hey, listen, if you're under a rock or if you're in a cave, come on out and listen to our episode. Probably not a good time to come out right now, so you might want to go back in. But yeah, absolutely. Very, very excited about our episode tonight.
Very excited as well because we have another special guest joining us tonight on the Sports Blitz. He is the creator, the founder, the blogger for the blog NoontimeSports.com. He has also been involved throughout the years in PA announcing, announcing TV, radio, podcast, sports writing. I mean, this guy has pretty much done it all. He is a product also of Wheaton College, which if you've watched our episodes in the past about our buddy Kyle, also Wheaton College grad, so kind of a nice little tie in there. Matt Noonan is joining us tonight here on the Sports Blitz. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to have you on. How are you doing?
Doing great, Robbie. It's great to be with you and Doug this evening. I know that whenever I hear someone bring up Wheaton, it makes me crack a big smile on my face. So got a lot of lion pride, as we'd like to say. But great to be with you guys.
Great to have you as well. Yeah, Wheaton. I mean, great school. And listen, I have some family connections to Wheaton. My sister went there, and I have nothing but good things to say about the school. So definitely. So, where I wanted to start off with you, Matt, is I was mentioning off the top, one of the big things you've done throughout your career is your blog, NoontimeSports.com. I see you rocking the Noontime Sports sweatshirt there tonight. So I just wanted to ask you sort of right up front, just sort of give us a little history lesson about the blog, sort of what made you decide to create it, and just sort of, the beginning of it, and also just how it's evolved over the years, because I know you've been doing it for quite a while.
Sure. So the inspiration, I guess I would say, Robbie, I started it as a junior at Wheaton in a dorm room, believe it or not. So the joke is that just like, Facebook starting it in their dorm room, Noontime was launched in a dorm room too. But, you have to go back to, it was 2009 of May 2009 to be exact. And you have to go back to, that was when there was a shift in kind of, content creation, sports media, that you started seeing more online. And Bill Simmons and others were using, a platform of a blog that people, would usually associate probably with like AOL at the time, or, maybe some small businesses or marketing that would be occasionally, using blogs to put something out there once in a while. But, it just ended up being a great tool for me, honestly, to be able to build some clips, get some experience. It led me to, do some opportunities, as you alluded to, do stuff in the college athletic space, and as a sports information assistant, media relations in Division III, working a couple startups, Lax Sports Network, Boston Lax being another one. Had the opportunity to be a correspondent for a couple different local outlets, ESPN Boston, which is something I know we used to cross paths with. And I know you had Mike Riley on, who a couple months ago was talking about how he did some correspondent work as well, doing more video. I was on the writing side. But then, also just being able to, as you alluded to, also the top, doing a podcast. The Noontime Sports podcast has evolved over time. Started really back in 2010, more late 2010. Most recently, it's kind of on a different form than it was, back in 2010. We're in 2021 now, 2020. It's on Anchor. We've been fortunate enough to have some great guests, whether they're from the college space, journalists, startup world, content creators. Recently had actually a Wheaton alum, John Shepard, come on talking about, being a part of, in a way, a startup gym and fitness in Dedham. Had a Katie Gardner come on to talk about being the marketing director as well as client services for the National Women's Hockey League. We've had obviously a few more in the queue too, partnering with, folks like James Baker and Frank Rossi in the college space to do, weekly Friday football shows called the Football Friday Podcast, highlighting small college and so forth. So, the site in general is a content creation site focusing specifically over the past 2 years, on, hyper local, more of the small college landscape, some high school, some amateur sports here in New England. But COVID, of course, really shifted the gears a little bit. And so, over the past, 8 to 10 months, the sites featured content on adult sports leagues, on amateur baseball leagues. How do you stay safe while playing games during COVID? Tech and innovation. So, at the end of the day, I mean, it's been, we'll be celebrating 12 years in May. It's been a great opportunity for myself to get to know folks like you and Doug, and folks in the college world, folks in the high school world, folks in the pros, the minor leagues, and so forth. And then it's been a great way for me to just pursue my passion of content creation and marketing and production and producing videos and podcasts. So it's been a great tool. It's something that I'm very proud of, and we've got some new things that we're working on here, that we're looking forward to eventually launching as the year progresses and in future years.
Definitely. And I gotta say, I actually was on one of the Noontime Sports podcasts. I remember back in the day, I think it was 2011, talking some pro and Wellesley high school sports. I remember back then. So definitely a fun experience there. And I mean, I just know from following your site over the years, you've had the opportunity to, like you were saying, to talk to some really cool people, that are involved in sports at the various levels, high school, college, pro, all that good stuff. So I was kind of curious sort of what it's been like for you to sort of be able to interact with such a wide array of people, but also who are some of your favorite interviews, if any, that you've sort of done over the years? I know that, I mean, you've done a lot, there's no question about it, but are there any that kind of stand out to you as you sort of gone through this journey?
Well, it's hard to pick favorites here, Robbie.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. No,
if I pick favorites, I might be getting some text messages.
I don't never want to get you into trouble or anything. So
no, it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I would say honestly, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of different folks on, as you alluded to, from different walks of life and different paths. Whether they're director, whether they're just getting started in the field, whether they've transitioned from sports to something else or whatnot. So I mean, the conversations that I'm able to have, whether it's for a written piece or an audio piece or for a video interview or Instagram, whatnot. It's that every opportunity just to be able to interact and do that. I mean, it's great at the end of the day. In regards to just as you mentioned, hey, covering a whole bunch of different angles, you got to study. You have to be able to know a lot of the different areas. When I decided back in 2011 and 12 to really hone in on the college world, at the time I was doing specifically just Massachusetts is what I was doing. So I was doing Harvard and UMass and BC and Holy Cross, and then Stonehill and Bentley and Assumption and AIC, and then the NESCACs and the other schools, the MassCACs and so forth. But as time evolved, I was able to factor in schools like Trinity and Rhode Island College or Salve or Maine schools, Vermont, New Hampshire, and so forth. And I think the one thing that I will say that's been the most satisfying part about this journey, Robbie, and Doug, is getting to meet a lot of different people along the way. I mean, there's one thing that we learned, maybe I don't know if it's coming ahead now because of COVID and so much of us are still at home and we're able to interact with a lot of us virtually. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got, a beginning and, where they started and so forth. And, there's a lot of, exciting and really feel good and interesting stories. You think there's people that perhaps, may have gotten to the director role as an athletic director or a director of marketing or ticketing and so forth. But sometimes their paths have been a little different. And, they haven't been a straight, shot. They've been a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and so forth. So, and that's one of the fun part about this entire journey as a whole is again getting to know people that are passionate about their craft and want to improve and want to kind of look at the landscape and say, well, what is someone else doing? What's someone not doing? And how do I get better?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds terrific, Matt. And I really wanted to kind of delve in. I know a little bit deeper, but not too deep. We had, of course, Jamie Rice on, which was a great interview. I've known Jamie for about 35 years or so. I went to day camp with him. We had him kind of on for the sports angle of him being the Babson head coach, hockey coach, but we also had him on because he went to Rivers day camp too, and we kind of were bantering back and forth about different things that have to do with the with the camp and the sports angle. And the sports angle stuff was just incredible. He had some really incredible stories, just like you said, some incredible stories about his journey, how he got there, how he was able to put together teams, how he coaches, how he does this. Wanted to ask you in this really long-winded way, I wanted to ask you, is there a story out there that you've heard? And you don't have to necessarily mention the person, but although it would be nice to mention the person too, but if you can't, that's okay. Is there a story out there that you absolutely, you were like, you were listening to it, and as you were listening and interacting, you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. Is there any, like, one story that you could think of?
That's a great question. I mean, again, kind of going off what I said to Robbie, I mean, there's a lot of great people that have stories, whether they're getting to coaching, whether they're getting, their first assistant role, whether they're becoming grad assistants or whatnot, or starting up a business, which is, those might be the stories that might be the most, amazing. I mean, I've had the fortune of getting to know a lot of, coaches that start up programs, whether it's around here or around the other country, whether it's for Noontime or for other outlets that I've been able to contribute to. And those are empowering stories, because the one thing about a startup program or starting a business, or perhaps, using this particular time, whether they're like a social sports league or trying to cater towards an audience to give them some sort of outlet of, stress and, relief, or, something to enjoy. Those are great stories. I mean, those are just hearing about, the challenges they go through. I mean, I've had the fortune to get to know a couple of coaches that have, are younger and, around my age, that have inherited, I'm 32, so I shouldn't call myself that young, but, but like, exactly. Like, I think there's, when I hear stories like those are great. I mean, some of the best stories I think that I've had, Doug, I mean, that I've found out about is, student athletes that are, playing a sport at a high level, but then they're taking a crazy course load. And then on top of that, they're doing an internship, or they're, working with their friends on, starting up something that they hope can, go on and so forth. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one particular story. So, I mean, again, it's a great question, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just, everyone, I hate to sound like a broken record, but like everyone, I feel like that we've all crossed paths with between the three of us, because we all obviously have a lot of mutual contacts, I'm sure, is that, there's people out there that we don't know that, or we do know that, hey, they had to go here before they went there and so forth. I guess I'll give kind of one last shout out to a friend of mine and a former colleague, Brian Bubna, MIT football coach. He's a great story where he wanted to be a broadcaster for a little bit. He played at Hobart, and then eventually I think he was late 20s or going towards the late 20s when he decided he wanted to get into coaching. So, he had to take a zigzag route to get to where he is, and he's done a great job. He's won back-to-back New Mac championships, and I know when the day comes when MIT's back on the football field, there'll be a great, great to see what they can do, which technically be year number 4 for them in 2021.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like I said, just sort of following along with the blog. I mean, just some of the stories, it absolutely is true. The fact that, some of these stories that you're able to tell through the lens of the blog or through video or through podcast is just spectacular. What I was curious about is for you personally, I mean, you've gotten to cover so many events over the years at so many different venues and a wide variety of capacity, for the blog or for PA announcing or for, internet announcing, whatever the case may be, for radio. What are some of the particular venues or events personally for you that have been really special in terms of, that you've been able to cover over the years?
Well, I'd say one of them is, a couple of years ago, I had the fortune enough to be able to travel around with the NFHS network. I was in New Hampshire one weekend, I was in Connecticut, Maine the following weekend, in Massachusetts. And, getting to be able to broadcast, probably probably 11 or 12 lacrosse championship games in about a span of like 3 weeks. But also, the New Hampshire was all one day. Maine was 2 on a Friday, and then you turn around and you literally sleep right down the road at a hotel, and then you're back at it from 7 in the morning there. It's about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Those were obviously a lot, those were long days, but a lot of fun. Being in Mohegan Sun for the Connecticut High School State Championships, TD Garden for hockey's Beanpot, basketball state championships, hockey state championships. I know you've been there too, Robbie. Also just being able to, I think one of the craziest events actually I'll throw at you guys that I covered early on in my career was the Brockton Rocks when they were in the Can-Am League, I believe at the time. I think this was 2011. I'm pretty sure this is on the Noontime YouTube channel. They wanted to do the most expensive hot dog, if I recall. And they wanted to put everything on this hot dog. So I remember, at the time, there was flip cams and I remember, leaving my laptop, my bag, in the top and, running down and, seeing the chef that was there. It was literally out in the main concourse. And this gentleman was laying every type of food that you could think about onto a hot dog.
Wow.
And I can't say that, I didn't have it. I think someone did end up getting it. And I forget how much they charged for it, but it was probably one of the wildest things that I've ever covered. But one thing I would say, I've been, at Bruins games, I've been, at Revolution games, I've been at the pro events too, but there's something special, I'd say, at the college, the college level and the high school level for state championships. I mean, those student athletes and those coaches and men and women, young men and women, they play for pride. They play for the name on the front, not on the back. And, seeing, I think the first high school state championship I covered, if I recall, from a football perspective was was one of the wildest ones. Actually, I think it was in 2011. Was Blue Hills playing Cathedral, and Blue Hills won based off a call when a Cathedral player
I remember
put his finger in the air and was supposedly blowing a kiss to his grandmother, I think, who had recently passed away. So. Yeah, there was that. There was the Needham BC High game. Needham had a great year in 2011, so I'll always remember that. That was really my first kind of real beat type of reporting job that I got to do. So that always will have a special memory in my mind. But, there's a lot of those that definitely go around. But I think the hot dog one is probably the craziest one. And I think it's a funny story.
Definitely. Hey, and obviously, I'm sure at the top of your list is all those Wellesley Little League games you and I covered back in the day. But
of course, how can you not remember those?
Exactly. No, for sure.
And that's great. That must be quite a sight to see that hot dog filled with all that stuff and going, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to eat that thing.
I don't think I wanted to even eat it, Doug. I was going to say pretty gross.
Yeah, it's good to see somebody else do it, or to have the thought process that maybe somebody else will take that over, not me. Especially if you got to call a game too. Sorry, I can't do it. I got to call a game. Even if it's over, sorry, I got to do some more. I got to do some interviews or something like that. Wanted to know what your. And I know you talk a lot, especially in your blog. You talk a lot about college stuff, and I know you're kind of all into, doing kind of like we do. We also do some college stuff. We also do some. We don't do much high school stuff, although Robbie has said he wants to put some high school stuff in there, and I don't have a problem doing it. And again, it's one of those things where I just want to get an idea of kind of your favorite teams, if you have any. Not talking about necessarily ones that you've and you've already mentioned a couple already that you that you've announced for, but special announcing. I mean, this is obviously the college and pro versus pro kind of situation. What are your favorite college and pro teams?
Well, obviously, I'll be biased. I mean, how can I not root? I gotta always root for my Wheaton Lions, no matter what sport they're playing. So I'll be a little biased there. Lions win, it's a good day, and so forth. But yeah, it's funny, Doug, you bring that up. I really don't have a favorite college team. The college world is, the college world is vastly different, as all three of us know, than the high school world, and also vastly different than the minor leagues and the professional and so forth too. I mean, there's multiple tiers of college. Not saying there isn't for high schools. I mean, there's divisions, of course, but the college world, there's, especially I'd say around here, we're fortunate enough around here. We're not a football, factory around here. We don't see the football. I mean, there's a fair amount, as all three of us know, football players that are going to play maybe like in the ISLs or some top tier Division Ones, like an Everett or Obviously there's been some players like, in Robbie's backyard of Wellesley that have gone on to play like either a Division II or maybe a Division III perhaps and so forth. And those are great. I mean, those are a lot of fun. I think that there's a lot more people, young men and young women that come out that play hockey or basketball, softball, baseball, track, tennis, field hockey, soccer, that you're going to be able to see them, go on to maybe some Division Is and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I know it's probably not the answer. I think you guys imagined that I was going to say, oh, Alabama or Ohio State or Cal perhaps and so forth. But yeah, it's
Right.
Unfortunately, I think that, my wife went to University of New Hampshire, so I guess I could become like, a quote unquote, adopted Wildcats fan. But yeah, I mean, I think when I'm at these games or, if I'm watching some of them, I really am interested in kind of like, looking for a good game. And, I can't say, just in my opinion, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I can say that like this particular college football season should be viewed as a victory because it was very messy and a lot of starts, a lot of stops. And, people are touting Alabama as this great football team. Well, they are. I mean, they ran the gauntlet, obviously, and, had no problem in the championship and the semifinals. But this is a pandemic team, in my opinion. I mentioned this the other day on our, midweek catch-up that we started doing. They're a pandemic best team. They played a complete SEC schedule. They rolled over, Florida in the SEC championship, had no problem, obviously, dislodging Notre Dame. And Notre Dame had a good season, playing in the ACC really for the first time, as all three of us know, they're independent. So, yeah, it's going to get a little bit interesting now with spring football on the horizon. I mean, there's some local teams playing. There's some Division IIs, Division IIIs set to get going, whether at the end of this month, early February. And it'll be interesting to see how the spring football is going to be played out and how that's going to factor in to the off-season programs, which usually would be the springtime where, maybe like a team like, a UMass or a Boston College is doing some sort of, a scrimmage perhaps or whatnot. But now they're going to be, these schools that are playing in the spring, whether it's a New Hampshire, a Maine, or Rhode Island, supposedly Merrimack and Bryant, they're part of the NEC. They're going to play too. How that's going to impact their programs going into the summertime. And then also, can they get back on the field knowing they played in a bridge schedule and now they're going to play a full 10, 11, 12 game schedule. And oh, by the way, if they win their conference, then they could perhaps, play a few more games. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this is all played out.
Definitely. I mean, and you're right. It was a very weird, interesting college football season. I do have to, sort of commend the BC Eagles, locally here, who had, I think, 0 positive tests during the season. So just, I do have to sort of give them, sort of commendation there for the ability to, stay so diligent during, like you said, what was a very interesting season for sure. Now, I know obviously we're sort of a little bit up against it for time here, but I did have one last question I kind of wanted to ask you. And again, like we've said, really appreciate you, sort of taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on and join us. I know you've sort of had the opportunity to do announcing your games both live and on tape delay basis, for local access and stuff like that. So I was kind of curious what sort of some of the differences are between calling a game live and calling a game when that it's going to be edited and played at a later date on tape delay. But just was kind of curious, as someone who's only done it myself on sort of the tape delay side of things, what sort of some of the unique differences are there between doing those types of games?
Well, I think the most important thing, Robbie, is that you have to treat it like it's a lot, whether it's live or tape delay. I mean, you want to treat it like, that the viewer is watching it for, seeing the same play, seeing the same thing happening for the first time. When it's live, whether it's a stream, whether it's a radio, whether it's an actual television broadcast, I mean, people are watching, whether it's, a small audience or a big audience, perhaps. When it comes to, and I know what you're talking about when it comes to some days, like, my first getting started, as you alluded to a little while ago about the softball games or the Little League baseball games used to do back in, I think, 08 and 09 with Greg Story, was that, I think you want to treat them as just, even though, yes, they're going to maybe be aired, Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday with, graphics and, music and all those type of things. You want to treat it as if it's a real live broadcast and so forth, because yes, a parent might know, oh, hey, I was at that high school game, I was at that Little League game, or I was at that event and, I know the outcome, or maybe there was a blog, or maybe there was an article that was already published, whether it was in a hyper-local newspaper or like a Globe or a Herald, perhaps a daily. So you want to really treat it as if it's, again, like it's a live broadcast. You're watching it the same way that your viewers are watching it, and so forth. And you got to have fun with it. I mean, I think that's the most thing that I always try to make sure to tell myself and tell my colleagues that I get to work with, is that, there's loads of streams, there's loads of broadcasts that are going on, delayed, undelayed, and you want to make sure that you just have fun with it, but you want to tell a good story, and you want to keep your audience captivated is the most important thing too. I'm sure one thing that you guys have talked about before, or might bring up when it comes to conversations like this, one of the things that I think, and I'm happy to kind of, expand on a little more here, Robbie, is that, there's going to be some games where they're going to be blowouts, or there's going to be, on paper, team A and team B look like as if they're coming in on a 5-game winning streak, or, team B's got this player that's going to take out that player, vice versa and so forth. And they don't happen. So you have to be prepared, whether, again, for a live broadcast or for a delayed broadcast, to tell those stories and be able to keep the audience captivated, because we live in an age right now where, unfortunately, I guess my generation, the millennials, and then the younger generation too, I guess I hate to say it, we're so, fixated on what's on our phone or what's on our streaming device and so forth. And, we don't want to sit down and watch a full game. We want to watch the highlights or what's on TikTok or Instagram. And
Twitter,
whatnot,
yeah, all that good stuff, yeah.
See it on Twitter. And so, yeah, I mean, I know I'm kind of going off on different avenues here, but I think that at the end of the day, you just want to treat it like a real live broadcast, even if, again, it is on delay, and parents or fans know, or players know, or coaches know the outcome. You still want to treat it that way, because when it does get aired, they want to, they don't want to feel like, oh, hey, you're going to hear this game, this game is delayed by 5 days, so you already know the score. No, treat it like it's a real broadcast, and give it your best effort.
Definitely.
That sounds great. Oh, sorry, Robbie, go ahead.
No, definitely. I completely agree. So, obviously, Matt, we really do appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I know you have a very busy schedule. We appreciate you taking some time, and obviously, we would love to, have you back in the future, to talk some more and to talk some other stuff.
How's tomorrow? We'll bring some hot dogs. A lot of stuff on.
You gotta socially distance though, Doug. You gotta still wear the face mask.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I was thinking just on Zoom, but that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at the doorstep.
Oh God, that'd be some content for days right there. Eating hot dogs.
I'll leave it right at the doorstep for you.
Well, baseball season's right around the corner, so that's the time to have the hot dogs, I guess you could say.
Right, exactly, absolutely.
But Matt, like I said, we really do appreciate you coming on, and would love to have you back again, at some point down the road. And, thank you so much for joining us. And sorry, your Cowboys, along with our Patriots, did not make the playoffs this year, but there's always next year.
That's what they say, Robbie. Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity. It was great to speak with you both. Wishing you guys all the best, obviously, with the show. I've had a chance to check out a few episodes, including the one with Coach Rice that I know Doug had mentioned, which was a great episode. Mike Riley, I know, was on recently. Yes. Really flattered that you guys reached out to me anytime. Be more than happy to come back and give you guys some more time and talk whether college sports, high school sports, or other things that are going on. But appreciate it and wish you guys all the best here with the show and everything going forward.
Same to you, Matt.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you so much, and we will definitely talk to you again soon. Thanks again, bud.
Awesome. Thanks guys.
Matt.
All right. So that is, like I said, is Matt Noonan. Sorry. Oh, geez. I just put it out there. Matt Noonan, Noontimesports.com again is the.
That was our other guest.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. I've been doing that all day. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but apologies, Matt, there. Again, the blog, Noontimesports.com. Definitely, folks, go check it out, or go check it out on Twitter, Facebook, wherever. I mean, he's a great guy, does a lot of great work in the blog and, in the announcing fields,
there's some great content there for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on it today, I couldn't stop. I was at work and I couldn't stop reading it. It was really great. He's got interviews on there too. He's got lots and lots of content. Just great content and just some really. I had a hard time getting off of it today. So it was, guys, you got to check this out. It's really great.
We'll link it in both of our the audio and video versions for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And he was fabulous, and hopefully we'll have him on again because I still have a whole sheet of questions I want to ask him. I know he's a little short in time because he's very busy. He's a very busy guy.
I definitely appreciate him just being able to take sort of even that half hour to join us. Really appreciate it.
Give us a little taste of what Matt Noonan's all about, and then we're just craving more now. I know.
We're on the edge of our seats like a cliffhanger. It's like we want more.
Yes, we want more.
But we did kind of want to touch on a little bit, as following our interview, sort of use the remainder of our time to talk a little bit about some of the sports stories of the day. So, Doug, first I wanted to ask you, NFL wildcard weekend was this past weekend. Obviously, 6 games, both Saturday and Sunday. Football, I know, football fans' paradise right there. Football all day
football
long.
Mania.
I know. So I just wanted to sort of, get your thoughts as we sort of recap the first playoff weekend of the NFL and your thoughts on the action that went on Saturday and Sunday.
I absolutely, I wasn't watching, and I will give it to Matt. He says, yeah, we're in the age where we like to watch the highlights. He's absolutely right with some of the stuff, because I was doing some other stuff also and kind of turning it on every once in a while. So I really wasn't there were a couple games I watched, most of them. I thought the games were great. I thought they were fantastic. I thought that they were very entertaining. I just thought some of the outcomes were a little different than we thought, and some of them were absolutely right on. Just very, very interesting for the whole weekend. If you're a football fan, this past weekend, you're probably still in a coma right now, and in a football coma.
I think our picks.
Oh my God, I need more.
I think we literally went 500 with our picks for the first weekend.
Did we?
Because you and I picked the Steelers who lost. We picked the Titans who lost, and we picked the who's the other one that we picked that lost? The Seahawks that lost, and then the other 3 we got were the Bucks.
Exactly.
Bucks, the Saints,
totally off.
And the Bucks, the Saints, and the Bills. So
it's any given Sunday. I'm telling you, it's just in some cases.
Who saw that Browns
games are very entertaining.
coming? Who saw that Browns game coming? I was like, you turn on the TV, it's 28-0 after the first quarter. Like, geez, Baker May. That Browns team was they were on fire. I know the Steelers kind of came back, but the Browns pretty much from start to finish dominated that game.
Oh, absolutely. Just a tremendous game. And you're like, wait a minute, what just happened? What? It's almost like somebody who had started drinking earlier, or just hanging out, or just turning it on for the first time, going, wait a minute, is that score right? Are you sure you don't put that backwards?
Yeah, is it not supposed to be the other way around? Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be the other way? Or somebody made a mistake. Call the Browns again. Call somebody and tell them.
I know. Yeah.
It was just again, you really sometimes you just can't tell. You just don't know. Sometimes people want it more. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go in. I bring up the Patriots almost their regular season, undefeated regular season, and then all of a sudden in the Super Bowl, what happens?
Yeah. Well, for the Steelers,
couple of weird plays, and then it's done.
But let's be honest. For the Steelers, it was about a month worth of that kind of situation. I mean,
That is true about that,
when
yeah.
you start 11-0 and are the top seed, and then you drop down to by the playoff time, the third seed, where you would have been the wild
Yeah.
card anyway, even if there was not an extra team
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
you're
they were not playing well. They were not playing well the last one. They were not playing well.
No.
So I totally get that. And it was probably not the greatest analogy, but I guess what I'm saying is that it's like any given football game, any given Sunday, which means that anybody can
great
win.
movie,
so
by the way.
You might want
great
a team
movie.
that, you might want that. But yeah, I thought it was great football. Great
the other divisional round or the other wild card weekend question I was curious about your thoughts were that the Tampa Washington game. Obviously, our old pal Tom Brady getting another playoff win, going into Washington, taking down the football team. I guess my question to you was, were you surprised how close that game was?
I was actually because
they gave him a game. They gave him a game.
They really did. They really did, and it was a little surprising. Actually.
Yeah.
A little surprising and not scary to me, but I'm just like, wait a minute. Well, if the Washington football team could do that,
what are other teams going to do? Yeah, I know.
What do you think teams that are better are going to do? And how are they keeping it close? How are they doing that? Is Brady just not quite there yet? Or is he, he always finds a way to win a game because he always did. But I think that's kind of what it is, and trying to figure out how did that happen?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, let me ask you for your opinion on this again. I've been sort of pointing to this over the last couple of years, on this show and otherwise. I mean, Tom Brady, hey, listen, he's playing very well for a 43-year-old quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but you can see, there are times where you can see the age, especially with him throwing the ball. The passes just don't look as crisp as they once were. I don't know. I don't know if you disagree with that, but it just does not look as precise as it once was to me. Not just this year, but over the last couple of years with him.
Yeah, I do agree with that, especially the long passes. I think if you're, if the deep passes seem to be a little bit off sometimes, maybe even a little further or to the side, as opposed to, right on target, which they used to be. Big time. But I've noticed a little bit of a decline too. So I can see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, again, Tampa did move on, and now they are going to move on to face the Saints, and another exciting weekend of football coming up for us with the divisional round. So I wanted to do sort of a little divisional round pick'em, so to speak, kind of like we did with the wild card round. Doug, I wanted to start in the AFC with the top seeded Kansas City Chiefs, obviously taking on the surprise 6th seed Cleveland Browns, again, fresh off their upset win over Pittsburgh last weekend. I think I have a feeling which way you and I are both leaning on this one, given our last episode. But what are your thoughts on that one to sort of kick off the slate of games?
Yeah, I'm almost a little nervous to go against the Browns now.
I know. It's like I gotta rethink about it. Yeah, exactly. Sort of the little money line there.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really follow the money line as much as other people.
I'm just.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. I totally get what you're saying. It's obviously really hard not to pick the Chiefs in this kind of situation.
You said the fact that I think we both picked them to make it to the Super Bowl last episode, and it's very hard.
Yeah, we kind of did. I kind of held off, but I kind of, it's one of those things where I think that's going to happen. But it's really, I think it's difficult not to pick the Chiefs in this game. I think just like this past week, I think it's going to be a closer game though than everybody thinks. I don't think the Chiefs are just going to roll over these guys. These guys have the big mo, as I call it.
Yeah.
Got a little momentum going.
And they got guys coming back. They got guys coming
exactly,
back.
but they also played last week.
True.
They got some guys coming back, so they also played last week. The Chiefs didn't play last week.
Good point.
So there is a little bit of momentum through that also.
Right.
I still think that there's just way too many. You're talking about
at the end of the day,
Pat Mahomes, and you're talking
you know,
about the weapons he has. You can't bet against them. You just can't do that.
At home,
I'm definitely going to pick the Chiefs in this one.
I got the Chiefs too. I think you're right. I agree with you in the sense that I think it's going to be closer than the experts think, especially based on that Browns Steelers game. But yeah, I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs as well in this one. I think the game that I'm actually most intrigued about this entire weekend, I'll be honest with you, is the other AFC game, and that is Buffalo and Baltimore. You got Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, two young quarterbacks sort of dueling it out. That game could almost you think that the Kansas City Cleveland game is going to be close. That Buffalo Baltimore game may come down to definitely has a good chance of coming down to the last possession there. So I was curious, Doug, sort of what your take was on that game in the other AFC divisional round.
Yes, and this actually it could be an even more interesting game because it played Buffalo, and we could have a bit of snow.
Oh yeah,
it's supposed to snow.
Yeah,
now it's
that.
not like they're playing Miami, where Miami's not used to playing in snow. In Baltimore, where they're kind of used to it. But the Bills, I'll tell you, up north, they get in Buffalo, they get lots of snow up there. So they're used to playing in it. They're used to making snow angels, building snowmen. They're used to doing all kinds of stuff.
And by the way, the Bills are coming off a pretty tough test themselves against Indianapolis last weekend. That game, you want to talk about a game coming right down the wire. That one was right there for the taking for the Colts.
That was a good game. I'm gonna make a little bit of a prediction, but I'm thinking. My personal opinion is that the Bills defense is really going to kind of take over in this.
Yeah.
The Bills defense is going to shut down
Lamar.
Yeah. Shut down Lamar big time. And that's just my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree with you completely. I think the Bills defense is definitely the X factor in this game. And that's why I think ultimately it's going to come down to the end. I think the Bills are going to win it.
Yeah, I do.
I think the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be again close game right down to the end. But I think at the end of the day, the Bills defense makes one more play, gets that one stop that gets them the victory.
Right. And my prediction is that it's going to be an interception.
Okay. All right. Wait.
Going to be an interception.
Hold on. We got to jot that down. Interception.
Interception.
Okay. We'll cut the tape.
Interception on that.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be.
And then on the NFC side, obviously you have the top seeded Packers playing host to the Rams. Again, the Rams coming off of a bit of an upset win going into Seattle and knocking off the Seahawks there last weekend. I personally, again, hey, listen, the Rams defense is tough. Aaron Donald, if he's healthy and good to go, they could give Rodgers some problems. I think at the end of the day, the Rams quarterback situation, it sounds like Jared Goff is going to play again. He is banged up, but I still think, I think for that reason and just the way the Packers offense this year, I like the Packers in this one. Again, all four of these games have the potential to be very close games, closer than maybe the experts would think. But I like the Packers over the Rams. Doug, what are your thoughts on it?
I also like the Packers over the Rams, although the Packers again didn't play last week, but I don't think that's much of a determination. Sometimes that can be a good thing. I just think I think the Packers have too many offensive weapons. I know that that Goff is going to be playing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Wolford, right?
Wolford.
Right?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah,
Got hurt, so he's not. So
but Goff's hurt too. I mean, his thumb is
he
not in
is,
good
and it's
shape.
not healed. No, it's not. And I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the issue with this.
Yeah,
is and I'm going with the Packers just because their defense is very good too, but I'm definitely going with the Packers this time, even if Jared Goff is in. But I really think that thumb's going to be an issue for him throughout the game.
Definitely. And then the final matchup of divisional weekend, the battle of the elder states, the battle of the elder statesmen, Drew Brees against Tom Brady, Saints versus Buccaneers. Hey, listen, I've kind of got a little back and forth on this game throughout the days. This is a tough one to pick. I'm gonna go with the Saints. I think the Saints have just enough at the end of the day, especially with that Buccaneer defense, having some issues throughout the season in terms of consistency. I think the Saints have just enough to get over the hump. Sorry, Tom and Gronk. I love you guys, but I think the Saints have just enough. I think it's gonna be a really close game, though. I really do. Doug, what's your take on it?
Yeah, this I've been going back and forth pretty much all week about this.
Yeah.
This is a very, very tough game.
I think you and I have been going back and forth on text about how we've been going back and forth on this.
Yes, this is a very tough game. I just think that you never can count Brady out because he always finds a way to win. I just think the Saints have just a little bit better when it comes to their offensive input. That's just my opinion. Yeah. And you're probably, I know there's people going to be looking at me going, what are you talking about? Have you seen the Bucs lately? Well, I have, and I have watched them. But what I'm saying is that with Brady not necessarily not playing at 100%, but still not throwing the ball where he's supposed to throw it all the time. And when he does throw it, and he throws it hard, and he throws it, his receivers have a hard time catching that ball.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but they have a hard time catching it.
Got some butterfingers going.
Exactly.
Before the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I just think the Saints are just slightly above when it comes to offensive input.
Yeah.
Defense is very good. But I'm going to go with the Saints too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to go against Brady.
It is definitely very hard to go against Tom and the Bucs. But we'll see how we do this weekend. If we maybe could do a bit better than 500 this time. Like we said, we went 3-3 last weekend, but we'll see. We'll see how our picks fare this time around. The last couple of sort of things I wanted to hit on, a couple of NBA related things, and also so maybe touching on the Bruins a little bit here. But I want to touch on a couple NBA related things first. Obviously, the Celtics have been off for a couple of days. They're supposed to play Sunday. Game got postponed. We're supposed
3 games
Tuesday night. Right? Game got postponed. Wednesday game got postponed. It's looking promising that they're actually going to play tomorrow night. Finally come back, but there is there are some COVID issues with the Celtics right now. So Doug, I just wanted to sort of get your reaction, maybe to that, but also maybe even just in the general sense here, the NBA, having some bumps in the road here early on in the season. So just want to sort of get your takeaway on both when it comes to the Celtics and the NBA as a whole with their battle against COVID here to start the season.
Well, their battle started with not having the bubble. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Their battle started with.
We knew there were going to be issues, with them not
we
having
knew
a
that there were
bubble.
going to be issues.
Look
up
at
front.
the NFL. Look at the MLB. I mean, it's almost unpreventable that you're going to have at least a couple issues here and there.
Yes, and it's going to be more down the road. That's just the way it's going to happen. But and they've toughened up the protocols this week. But still, after you toughen up the protocols, it doesn't stop Kyrie Irving from going to New Jersey and going to his sister's birthday party in a club
without a mask
and not wearing a mask on. And everybody else in there is not wearing a mask. So it doesn't necessarily prevent these guys from doing stuff. But the bubble did stop everything from happening, and that's why they were able to play without incident, without having COVID issues.
Them and hockey,
unless somebody came out and came back. Right. So it was inevitable that it was going to happen. I'm just hoping that they stay to the protocols and they'll be able to play. This is the third game they've missed. Hopefully they'll be able to play tomorrow. We haven't heard anything yet, so that maybe no news is good news. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I just think it was inevitable that this was going to happen, and we just have to kind of deal with it and move on, just like we've done with the other leagues.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, when people sort of are quick to hop on the let's shut the season down bandwagon here after these couple issues. I mean, I do point to the MLB and the NFL, who hey, listen, they had issues for sure, but you know what? They pushed through it. And guess what? They were both able to get through their seasons. They were both able to get through, and the NBA and NHL can get through their seasons. It may take sort of some rejigging of things and adjustment of protocols, like Doug was just talking about, but it is possible. It is shown to be possible to get through a season without the bubble. There are just going to be some bumps in the road, and you have to adjust accordingly. It's tough to watch as a Celtics fan, seeing them, have to miss 3 games in a row, but it beats the alternative. That is for sure. The second, though, NBA related point, Doug, and this is sort of more of a talker here, is a little trade went down yesterday.
A little
in the NBA, just a little one, just no big deal or anything like that.
Ginormous.
I was being.
I know you were.
James Harden, formerly, I should say, of the Houston Rockets, on the move. Heading to the Brooklyn Nets to team up with Kyrie Irving, assuming he actually gets back to being able to play, because he's out right now due to those COVID issues, and apparently is attending Manhattan DA Zoobs when his team is playing games, but that's a whole different story. And of course, Kevin Durant. I know you can't make this stuff up, but Doug, just wanted to get through your take on the big shakeup in the East yesterday with Harden getting his way and getting out of Houston and joining his buddies with the Brooklyn Nets.
I'm just glad he didn't go to the Celtics.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I think you and I agree too much for it. Yeah, I think you and I
giving up way too much for it.
Yeah,
we're talking Jaylen Brown, we're talking Marcus Smart and picks. I'm just glad we didn't do it in the end, and I thought that Danny held off. And the only time that I say to myself, "Oh, I'm glad he held off," it's really one of those situations where trying to go to a team in which trying to put a bunch of stars together, and it doesn't always work that way. It really doesn't. Talking about Irving, Kyrie and Harden, that both love the ball, that both love to bounce the ball, that both love to shoot, and KD being probably the best player out of the 3, and they're talking about they're all ball hogs. They're all ball hogs. So I think they should play. All 3 of them should play against the 5 and sit the 2 other people down, because they're not going to even get the ball.
I'm curious to see how it's going to work. Honestly,
I don't know. There's some talk out there that Kyrie is not necessarily in his right mind.
Really?
I laugh not because it's funny that he's not in his right mind. I'm laughing because we had him here and we were going through the same thing on a little bit of a minor level. And I'm glad he's not here anymore. I can't believe I'm saying that. I love his basketball, the way he plays. He's
Yeah.
an immense player. He's a great player.
But the problem
Fabulous
is the
player,
problem
but
is the problem is the distraction was becoming more than the talent was towards the end. So
That's correct. And it's starting to become that now. And it's just the beginning of the season.
I know.
So whether he's going to decide to, if he can, opt out, he's got $34 million he's looking at on the table. So whether there's some talk that he may retire because his head's not in the game, I think he's got a lot of personal issues and a lot of other issues, and I think he needs to get those. He needs to get well before he comes back. I'm not sad about him not playing, but because he's in the Nets, so I don't have a problem with that at all. But I just think he needs to get some help. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's just, Katie just got to him and said, "Hey, look, they're going to get hardened if you play this game of whatever." And I don't know if Katie said that. I have no idea. All I know is that having those three together doesn't guarantee anything.
No.
Doesn't guarantee a championship. No. And in fact, the complete opposite.
It could hurt them. It could
absolutely hurt them and hurt the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Hurt the rest of the team too.
No,
I'm glad we didn't get hardened because of the fact that I think that we need to build around Tatum and Brown. Brown's got 4 or 5 years as opposed to Harden being maybe
the window,
maybe 3.
I was hearing this on the radio. The window for the Celtics right now is a lot wider than it is for the Brooklyn Nets.
Definitely.
If you can keep those pieces in place and even bring in some more more sort of filler pieces to go along with that. But the window is definitely a lot wider for the Celtics than it is for Brooklyn. So that's why I agree with you. Right now, it was not the right move to bring Harden in here. And I'm glad that Danny sort of stayed firm there. Didn't give up the house for him.
And he would have.
Yeah. No,
would have been a really bad mistake.
Danny sometimes does. Sometimes we'd like him to pull the trigger and he doesn't. Sometimes we don't want him to pull the trigger and he does. So
sometimes the best trades are no trade.
Exactly.
Just don't do it. So with Zdeno Chara gone, which
it was weird seeing Torrey Krug in a Blues uniform the other night.
I'm sure it was. And when we play the Capitals, it's going to be weird to see Chara in a different uniform too. I still think Brandon Carlo, although a couple of inches shorter, Carlo at 6'5", and of course Chara at 6'9". But still, I think Carlo played well last year, and I think he's going to play well this year, and I think he's going to push right into that role. We have, I'm very excited to see this team. I did see most of the first period before
Brad Marchand,
we came on.
Brad Marchand getting the team on the board there in the first. Nice little power play goal.
But what I'm noticing is
good energy. Good energy.
Faster team.
Faster
is what we need to have.
Good on the puck battle. I love their battle. I love their puck battles right now. I mean, they're playing very physically so far.
Yeah, and McAvoy must have learned a few things from Chara because McAvoy's hitting people like a Mack truck.
Oh yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's just phenomenal the way they're playing. I'm very excited about the season. I am very excited to see the young guys and how they play and how they respond. Looking forward to Kevin Miller finally coming back if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, man, it's gonna be huge for us for him to stay healthy.
I agree.
He's a bruiser back there, and he's a hitter. So he's also he's got a pretty hard shot too. So if he can stay healthy, that should be a good thing. But yeah, definitely, I think I'm just very excited for the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how we can overcome the Krug and Chara kind of situation and see what we could do. Obviously, Bergeron getting the big C, and and definitely deserving of that.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, just I'm
yeah.
just
And
excited to see.
we kind of talked about that last time, and we thought,
Yeah.
that it was pretty obvious that he
Yeah.
was going to get it.
Yes.
No, definitely, I agree with you. I'm very excited about this season, and very intrigued to see where this team goes. With those two guys gone, but some younger pieces coming back, or really stepping up. With Krug and Chara no longer there, and also seeing Tuukka Rask back behind the net. I guess I read that he made a very nice save there towards the end of the second period to keep it a 1-0 game. So we'll see if they can hold on to defeat the Devils here in the opener. So
I think Rask has something to prove this year too, Robbie. I really do.
He heard the commentary, after
did.
he left the bubble and all of that. I think he's on a mission for sure. I would not be surprised at all.
Yep, definitely.
But I do want to sort of start to wrap up this week's episode with our final thoughts for episode number 68. And Doug, I will let you kick it off this week with your final thought. What have you got for us?
My final thought is that I was very excited to have our special guest, Matt Noonan, on. I thank him for coming on. It was great to meet him. It was great speaking to him, speaking with him. And I hope he comes on soon, because I just had a list of questions and I had a list of questions after the half an hour. I had another list of questions I wanted to ask him. I hope he comes on again, but I know he's very busy, and I get it. And I just want to thank him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to thank him. It was great to have him on, and I hope we can see him in the future. But that's my final thought for tonight's episode. What's your final thought, Robbie?
My final thought, and we kind of touched on it with him actually. I just wanted to, send a congratulations to the Alabama Crimson Tide on their national championship. I know it was a very interesting college.
Did they win something?
Season.
I'm sorry.
They did. I know it's a very interesting college football season, but they did get through it, and they were able to crown a national champion. So, hey, Nick Saban, like him or loathe him, is a heck of a college football coach, and adds another title to that trophy case there with the victory over Ohio State. So, like I said, just wanted to send them a congratulations, and like you said, Doug, absolutely agree. Want to send a big thank you once again to Matt Noonan for joining us. And again, folks, please go check out the blog, noontimesports.com. It is a treasure trove of terrific content on so many different levels.
It's awesome.
We really do appreciate him having on. Cannot wait to have him on again in the future, along with other special guests that we're going to have coming down the pipeline.
Hey, Robbie, I just want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention, you guys got to start watching some future episodes, because especially watch this one, because you'll get at the end who's going to be on next. We have some guests in the works here. We have another possible Rivers episode coming up, which is very excited about.
Couple of potential
Rivers episodes with some special Rivers day camp guests. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
And we also have a buddy of mine who's out in Colorado, and we're going to try to have him on. And something that Robbie, you and I haven't really touched upon. And it's another branch of sports that we don't really do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that do this. And it's all about the sports betting. And it's really cool, because he's going to come on, because he's been doing this for a while.
We did make some sports betting analogies earlier in the show. So
we did, but we don't. I don't bet on sports. This friend of mine does, and he does it quite often. And he does it with a bunch of buddies and a bunch of friends, and over here and over there. And he knows a lot about this, and he's just going to give us the skivvy on it. And that's going to be a future episode too. And if you guys have episodes that you'd like us to do, that you'd like us to talk about, you want us to talk about Celtics, or you want us to talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide, you want us to talk about whatever Whatever we want us to talk about, we want to hear it. We want to
From
see
you.
those comments.
We want to hear
Yeah.
from you. Yeah. Absolutely. Hit us
And
up.
again, you can comment on Facebook, and we're on YouTube, Sports Blitz, not the Sports Blitz, just Sports Blitz on YouTube.
That's right.
That's our YouTube channel. We're on Facebook. We're on SoundCloud.
Twitter,
we are
all
on
that good
Twitter.
stuff.
Yep. And we're also thinking about some really cool future episodes down the road. So please stay tuned.
Definitely stay tuned as we look forward to our next episode, which will be episode number 69. Cannot wait to see you guys again for that one. More exciting Sports Blitz talk. And again, just one final time, want to say thank you to Matt Noonan for coming on and joining us tonight. That wraps up this week's edition of the Sports Blitz. As always, for Doug, I'm Robbie, signing off here from the Sports Blitz. We will see you next time for episode number 69. Bye, everybody.